Yeah, hello guys. I think by the end of the year it will get boring because I will have the same speech with slight modifications right around 100 times. It will certainly get boring for me because there is something special about performing the same speech 100 times to mostly the same audience, or rather, in some cases, the same audience. But I only have 25 minutes, so I'll go fast. So as it's mentioned, I have been with this industry for right around 15 years. We founded the company in the year 2000, and the company was called as WSoft, later became Parallels, and recently renamed itself to Odin. And the company is relatively well known in this industry for the products Parallels Plesk panel, Parallels automation, Parallels Virtuoso containers. In fact, Acronis was founded at the same time by the same people, but was split it into a separate business in 2003. And I was not involved in it since 2007, from 2007. In 2010, I stopped being involved with Parallels and Odin, and you guys probably have seen a lot of, how many of you guys use Parallels or Odin? Well, there are some, right? How many of you don't know what is Parallels and Odin? Okay, so you do. And so then there is, I founded venture fund Rune Capital. And funny enough, this Rune Capital is also quite closely related to hosting industry. Many of our LPs are coming from the hosting industry. And many of the companies we invested into are actually companies which are well used in the hosting industry. Companies like Nginx, Gelastic, Cloud Linux, Equid, Mighty Call, and so on and so forth. How many of you guys use Cloud Linux? Okay, there are some. Hopefully, there will be 2 times more of you using Cloud Linux next year. Now, in 2013, even though I had this wonderful career with hosters, I came back to Acronis. Acronis at that time was making award-winning backup, disaster recovery, and secure access products, which were based on Acronis AnyData engine, had hundreds of millions of profitable revenues, 700 employees, 23 offices worldwide, in 18 countries, 500,000 businesses using Acronis products, and about 5 million consumers in 145 countries. So it's a very global, sizable company. But in April 2013, there was no cloud strategy. And so why did I come back to Acronis? So first of all, I came back because there is a very well-known trend about data. There is lots and lots more data, and data is becoming more and more valuable. All of these trends we talk about on these events, they drive amounts of data. So cloud mobility and social certainly created much more data and made our lives much more data dependent. 3D printing, effectively, it's about describing everything physical in data. And so everything we have around us is becoming data. Digital money, certainly about data. Internet of Things, certainly about a lot of sensors generating a lot of data. Wearable technology, also generating data. Big data, about data, of course, and artificial intelligence. And there are some interesting facts about data. Data is growing at about 125% per annum. So it's growing very, very fast. 125% per annum, that's the amount of data. You know, interesting thing, everybody talk about privacy and security today. And so NSA is touching 45 petabytes of data per day. And that's only 1.6% of the internet traffic. And I think this is like a year-old data. And you know, generally, the amount of data which was created up until the year 2000 is now created every 10 minutes. And so people believe and talk about singularity. How many of you guys believe in singularity? Okay, there are some guys who believe in singularity. And one thing about singularity, which is quite important to remember, is that singularity is about, as we know, singularity today is about making the world digital. It's actually about describing everything in data, including human souls. So data is really important. There is a lot of data. Now, data loss happens. And with digital bytes, it's not a question of if it happens, but it's a question of when it happens. There's lots of reasons when it happens. I don't have time to describe all the reasons. But it's just some statistic. You know, on a 150 rack cluster, there is 1,000 server failures a day for Google, and thousands of hard drive failures a day. And there is about 20 racks which will fail within the first year. So that's just a statistic. It just happens. This is a statistic from another internet and technology giant, Microsoft. There's about 8% failures of servers per year. So server lives, say, 12 years before without failures. And there is about 3% of disk fail rate per year. And by the way, average fail rate for SSDs is just about the same as average fail rate for conventional drives. In fact, with SSDs, it's much worse, because when you lose the data on a conventional drive, you can mostly recover it. With SSD, you might as well lose all of it at the same time. And this is just some statistic from this industry. The company who actually hosts this event, who owns Web Hosting Day, Host Europe, experienced right around 5 server failures a day and 50 hard drive failures every day in their data center. Now, there's more data, it's more valuable, and you lose it from time to time. So it makes sense to have it protected. But it is important that protecting data is not the primary reason for you to use IT. And I always will continue to use this analogy. People can do a lot for love. They can pay a lot of money. They can dedicate their lives. They can only get a small little bit of love, and they will be okay with it. Well, will they do the same for taking care of their teeth? Probably not. Imagine that it would be necessary for you to stand on your head to do toothbrush, or if it will take 1 hour. Not many people will do that. Imagine that you will be able only to protect one tooth, and the rest of the tooth fall off. Will be not very useful. And imagine it will be $50,000 a year to protect your tooth. Very few people will do it. 5,000, more people, 500, even more people, $50. Everybody will do it, even though at $50, probably not in all of the countries. And so the same is true for backup. Generally, backup and protecting data is important only if it's easy, if it's complete, and if it's cheap. Now, if you look at this in the past, if you take example of your customers, which are primarily small and medium-sized businesses, let's take 100 customers with 10 servers and 100 workstations each. What does it take for them to do backup? Just backup. That's only one portion of data protection. Well, they need to buy backup software, which we make and sell. Well, unfortunately, it's not enough. They also need to buy backup hardware, network, power and cooling, data center. They need to have some kind of data center to keep that hardware, server room or something. And most importantly, they need to have dedicated people to manage it. As a result, it was difficult to do backup, and especially for SMBs. It was incomplete because in most cases, SMBs would only be able to protect some parts of their data, and it was also very expensive. So the total cost for these customers to do backup over the course of 3 years is about $38 million. In fact, it's quite bad for us because we only sell backup software. We would only make $2.2 million from these customers, only 6% of their total cost. And so I argue that globally, people spend probably right around $100 billion a year to do data protection in a very inefficient manner. Now, there is another trend which is quite interesting, especially if you look at its geographies. The internet uplink speed is becoming much, much faster. This is just some statistics. In 2014, uploading 200 gigabytes of backup, which is an average server backup for a SMB, would only take 4.4 hours. And subsequent incremental uploads would be 26 minutes. And in 2018, based on the roadmap, which Singapore government provides, it only be 1.5 hours, and incremental backups would be only 9 minutes. Well, it gets worse when you move to some less developed countries. But for example, in US, it's 18 hours today, and it will be 5.9 hours in 3 years. So upload speed is getting to be very, very fast. And it's really not much slower to do backup to the cloud versus doing backup on premise. And this is a wonderful thing. And again, I don't have that much time to give the story, but this is a story of why industrial production is better. There is a famous company in this space, which is called Rackspace. Most of you know this company. In fact, the company used to be investor in one of the companies we bought into parallel, Plesk. But this story starts from a grandfather of one of the founders financing industrial production of bread in Great Britain after the war. And they financed the industrial production of bread. They invented the conveyor production of baked items, and then they bought 15,000 bakeries all over UK, and they use those bakeries no longer to bake bread, but as a storefronts. And that's how they founded British Foods, which is one of the multi-billion-dollar companies. And the money which were made from it were later used to finance Rackspace, partially finance Rackspace. And so why is it better to actually do backup and do backup in the cloud? First of all, the architecture is much better in the cloud because it's a scale-out architecture, and you have a distributed storage which actually decreases cost per user as you grow amount of storage. Second of all, you have much better purchasing power. You are much better than SMBs in buying electricity, in buying hardware, in buying hard disks, in buying networking gear, in buying networking bandwidths, in hiring people. And finally, because you actually collect multiple customers into one place, you can use a lot of automation, and your people costs are much lower. As a result, today, we offer Acronis backup service at relatively high prices, and yet it will only cost $22 million instead of $38 million for those customers to do backup, for those 100 customers on the previous example. And so that is about 10 times more revenue, which we can get by providing the customers much better service, not only backup, but perhaps also disaster recovery, archiving, and so on and so forth. And they will still save 42%, and there is still 10 times more money to make, which is something which we happily can split with partners. So my point is here very simple. I think I always wanted to do something for hosters which would be special, and at some point we sort of invented the category of virtual private service for this industry. Hosters were very successful making domain shared and server easy, complete, and cheap. And I believe data protection is the next big thing for hosters. Hosters are ideal, and if you look at what analysts, which are starting to look at this industry, predict, service providers are an ideal place for small and medium business customers to buy data protection, and that enables $30 billion in potential revenues. And since I came back to Acronis and we launched our cloud products, we experienced tremendous growth in our cloud products. Our cloud products grew about 2,000% last year. So they grew 20 times. So not many of you use our products today, but that's because last year they were 10, 20 times smaller. And 20% of our revenue now is cloud. And so that's the best growth in my career across all of the companies, across early Acronis, across Parallels, and across any of the Runa companies. So it's a huge revenue opportunity for you guys to split. So one thing which would be a good question is, why would it be so difficult to do data protection for servers? As you will see in a subsequent slide, people are doing backup and data protection for the last 60-something years. And here I created a comparison of best backup for enterprises and what is needed for a backup for service providers. Best backup for enterprises supports very wide variety of workloads: Windows, Red Hat, VMware, Hyper-V, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, SharePoint. But service providers have all the same, plus different workloads: Zen, KVM, Virtuoso, Docker, OpenExchange, MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres. So it's a different workloads. There is not really an enterprise solution which support these workloads. Backup for enterprises scales very well. If you take solutions from industry leaders like Commvault, it scales to thousands of servers and to tens of thousands of workstations. However, when you go to a service provider data center, you get completely different scale. You get a multi-tenant instance which is shared by millions of customers, and it actually works on tens of thousands of servers and potentially need to support tens of millions of desktops. And this can only be done with complete automation. Also, with enterprise backup solutions, you have elaborate licensing, multiple editions, multiple modules, which can be combined in a very special way. But that's not what is needed to fit the business models of service providers. Most of our service provider customers would want to create their own service plan and assemble their backup functionality in the features which in the service plans which they believe are the best suited for their customers. And they would want to negotiate with us very special pricing models about these service plans, because they would want to pay us based on the usage of the service plans, or some of them would want to pre-buy by large amounts, and so on and so forth. And finally, in the enterprise, backup solutions have minimal API. It's really an application, and if they are integrated, they're integrated with enterprise system management products. And of course, these products are completely not used in a hosting space. In a hosting space, you need to have an open API to integrate with your billing and provisioning systems. And also, you need to integrate with standard systems like APS 2.0 from Parallels, like cPanel, like Odin, like Open Exchange, like Direct Admin, like Flexiant, like ONUP. You know, for the first time, I'm happy that I can support all of the service provider vendors and not only pitch Parallels. And so when I realized that this is such a big opportunity, we have restarted Acronis, and we put all of our engineers, 300 engineers, to build our products first as cloud services, and then launch them as cloud solutions for our partners, and only then make them available as on-premise product. We release new functionality every 2 months. And so whatever we have today we're on milestone 4 of our functionality. We will have much different functionality in 2 months. Whatever you guys need today from our product, you can ask, and you can get it very quickly. It's based on Acronis AnyData engine. It has common UI integrated, ready for upsell, and all of the products are part of Acronis Cloud Platform. And Acronis Cloud Platform is no longer just backup. We call it Acronis A, B, C, D, E, F. It's Acronis Archive Cloud, Acronis Backup Cloud, Acronis Cloud Storage, Acronis Disaster Recovery Cloud, Acronis eDiscovery Cloud, and Acronis Files Cloud. And it's exactly designed with the requirements of the service provider in mind. So it is actually supporting any end cloud workloads. So we support all kinds of Linuxes, KVM, Xen, Parallels containers, and so on and so forth. It is designed to scale out to millions of devices. It enables upsell and cross-sell both inside one type of the scenario and across multiple scenarios. It's integrated with a variety of cloud systems such as cPanel, such as Odin, and it has open API. And again, it's not just backup, so it enables upsell not only within different backup service plans, but also from backup to disaster recovery, and so on and so forth. And I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go ultra quickly. I was already going very quickly, so what can you backup? So first of all, there's 5 things you can actually backup with our products. One, you backup your servers, and that's a primary scenario. What we found, many of the servers in this space are not backed up. Second, you can backup specialized workloads, such as hosted email, shared hosting, site builders, clusters. Third, you can backup infrastructure, which is on-premise of your customers. Your customers by now already trust you. Many of your customers use your services for many, many years. Many of your customers migrated some of their on-premise applications to your data centers. Also, you can backup your own servers and your own workloads. And you know, in fact, service provider is a very funny part of the IT industry, and many of the systems you have don't really have proper protection. And finally, interestingly enough, you can backup and migrate other provider data and migrate it into your data center. All of the Acronis products has unique feature of universal restore, and that means you can backup any server anywhere and then restore it anywhere in the VPS, in the virtual machine, or on another physical server. Now, when we spoke to providers first, we realized that many of them tried backup, and they did not really succeed so much. And I wanted to analyze why is that happening. And I realized that backup is a very, very established technology. First backup was done in 1951. So effectively, it's a 64 years old technology. And there is really 2 types of customers. There are customers who do backup and who don't do backup. And most likely, you will succeed in selling backup and disaster recovery and other data services to customers who already use backup. And they have a lot of expectations in what they want to see in backup. Unless they see those features in the backup solution which you offer, they will continue to use some on-premise product, or they will continue to not do backup with your product. Now, another thing which I found with customers, and when I talk to service providers, they tell me, like, OK, we actually do backup. We offer some backup. Why would our customers do better backup? And I wanted to stop on 2 important features of backup. One of them is called recovery point objective. Another one is called recovery time objective. Recovery point objective is basically how much data do you lose, whether it's 1 day, 1 week when the failure happened. Recovery time objective is how much time do you lose when the failure happened. How long does it take to restore? And so, of course, you can live in the tent, and you've been in this part in the US, it's sort of a tempting thought. but it's 24 hours. And so you can have an RPO of 24 hours, and you have an RTO of more than 1 hour. And that's most of the time, most of the providers which I've spoken to have a typical RPO and RTO of this kind. Now, with OK backup solution, you will have an RPO of less than 24 hours, and you have an RTO of less than 1 hour. And that means it takes less than 1 hour to restore the server in case of the catastrophic failure. And with really great backup solution, and we hope such solution is the solution which we provide, you can get an RPO of less than 15 minutes. So less than 15 minutes of data is lost, and you have an RTO of less than 2 minutes. And to do that, you need to make a backup solution and data protection solution very sophisticated. I don't have time to go through all these points, but basically, all of this is primarily to make it easy, complete, and cheap, and to enable very, very still good RPO and very good RTO. So that's the first thing I think you guys need to consider. It's the first opportunity is to offer backup solution to your customers, to back up all of their data in your data center. Now, the other interesting solution which we have is disaster recovery. Disaster recovery as a service is first really truly enabled only by the cloud. In the past, in order to do disaster recovery, you have to have a spare hardware. With the cloud, you can share a single set of spare hardware across 100 servers. And that means you can actually offer disaster recovery at a very competitive price. So how it works, very simple. You have an appliance installed on a customer premise, which points to the servers which need to be protected. If the servers are in the cloud, it's installed in the cloud data center. You replicate all the data to the cloud and locally for local recovery. And customer has a complete copy of their data center, which they can, from time to time, start and test. And that's primarily what customers buy. They buy the ability to test a disaster recovery solution works. We have a very good product. It's a market-leading product, named as a market-leading product by both Forrester and Gartner. And it's a very good add-on for managed hosting providers. It's a very high average sales price, and you can accomplish very high savings for the customer because, again, in case the customer runs disaster recovery on-premise, they need to have a dedicated administrator of this disaster recovery, and they need to buy a dedicated set of hardware. So you can offer a customer much better RPO and RTO, and it's also a very, very sticky service. It's a huge opportunity, $2.4 billion next year, and I would argue probably $1.5 billion next year just in the United States, growing at 55% per annum. It's ideal opportunity for serving. Really, you should offer it. Right, and I really running out of time, so at this point I will go even faster, but if I can. So the next solution, which I think is a good opportunity for you, is our product, which is called Acronis Access Advanced. It solves a very simple problem. As you know, most of the SMB employees today have their own devices, which are not owned by the company, which are not on corporate network, and quite often are online. So how to provide data access to those devices and ensure full control? Some SMBs don't care about control, but many SMBs do care about control, and in that case, Dropbox is just not an option. Dropbox allows you to share files, but does not allow you to control the sharing. What we do, we install the product which integrates with Active Directory, which integrates with Active Directory, and it's installed on premise. Then we install a secure sandbox on a mobile device and give access to all of the customer data. Data is synchronized between all of the devices completely securely. You can set all the rights in Active Directory. And again, it's not just for sharing and access and synchronization, but it's also for control. It's also for collaboration, communication, editing, and document workflow. And again, this is a very interesting high-end product for managed service providers. In many cases, this is a great product for customer to install on premise, but somebody has to manage it for them. If the customer trusts you managing some of their other workloads, for example, their Exchange servers, for example, their SharePoint servers, they will probably trust you to manage a product like this. Naturally, after we turn to the cloud, we make this product also available as a lower-end cloud service. And in that way, we effectively make it possible for you to compete with companies like Dropbox, making it a multi-tenant and multi-tier, offering self-server management control panel, and everything which is required to offer a complete file sharing solution to smaller businesses with better controls than you can get from Box.net and Dropbox. We make our products available in these 4 models. So we are very flexible about the way how you run our software. You can sell it as a SPLA service to customer. You can syndicate Acronis Cloud Service from our data center using our storage. That's very easy. You can start doing it today. We have data centers in 14 countries. We have 14 data centers in many countries, and we are launching new data centers all the time. You can also build Acronis Hybrid Cloud. In that case, we run the management system, but you run the storage. And we believe most of you are better than us in buying storage. And you can also fully host the system if you're a large provider that allows you to customize the system and to have the right maintenance windows and so on and so forth. This is a business model example with one of our partners, similar to the example which we had in the past. We believe you can ramp this type of service, just complete set of backup services, not including DR, not including Files Cloud, not including archiving, not including e-discovery, to write around $13 million revenue per year with just about 360 customers added every year. Mid-sized customers. This is a case for managed services provider, not for mass market hoster. And this is a model which is chosen by one of our premier customers, HomePL, and in fact, they have 2 times more aggressive business plans, and so far they are on target. Well, I don't have a lot of time for this, but I was thinking when I talk to this audience, I'm thinking, what is making people in this audience motivated? And motivation is a big part of my sort of business thinking, because when I dealt with startups and when I dealt with parallels, it is important to understand what motivates people. And so I've read this interesting book about motivation, and I've seen this video. And in this video, it says that people are motivated by autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And that was sort of strange to me, because I knew that a lot of people I deal with, they are motivated by money. And then I realized that for some people, money is purpose. And that's why they are motivated by money. And money are useful things. Making money in your business, and many of you guys here run your businesses, is good to send your kids to college. It's good to buy a wonderful penthouse in Central Park West. This one is just $38 million, not so expensive. If you want, you can buy a monster truck. Will fit this part of the country. You can go to a, that's my favorite. You can go to a VIP trip to Peru. Cost about $50,000 to $100,000 for, say, 2 weeks, if you want to have a wonderful experience. You can buy a boat. Well, here I couldn't stop myself, and I just put this Lance Crosby boat, the founder of SoftLayer. And I was actually told when I did the presentation last time that he bought a boat which was larger than a lake. And so I've checked, it's actually not true. It's a large boat, but it's not larger than a lake. But he did buy the boat. And then finally, not finally, you can buy a Hawaii luxury villa. So Bob Parsons bought this villa from Share. Bob Parsons, the founder of GoDaddy. So it's not that expensive, actually, $8.7 million, not so much, right? Well, if you don't like that, you can spend money on Vegas. And if you don't like that, you can invest money in Runa Capital, which a lot of hosting companies did. Companies like Host Europe, Endurance, United Web, founders actually invested money in Runa. We can make more money for you. Now, how to make money if you are in the hosting industry? Apparently, it's very easy. There is just 3 things which are important to make money. And there is no mystery to it. There is no longer technology about it. It's all about just 3 things. It's about EBITDA, it's about growth, and it's about churn. If you sell your business at some point, it will be valued on these 3 factors. And we believe that Acronis-based offering is ideal to improve all these 3 factors. With EBITDA, we offer excellent margins. With growth, you can sell more services to the same customers. You own the customers. By now, you learn how to keep them happy. And finally, any additional service which you sell to a customer decreases churn. And certainly, it decreases churn when it decreases downtime. And so that could be extremely sticky service. Keeping any of that customer data is very sticky. And so summary is very easy. Data is more and more and more valuable. It's not that visible right now, but it's really, really happening. There is more and more data, and losing data is becoming less and less pleasant. Data protection has to be easy, complete, and cheap, and cloud made it possible for the first time. And with a fast upload speed, it really makes no sense to do local backup. And Acronis is offering a complete set of data protection solutions to enable you guys to make $30 billion and pay some of those $30 billion to us, but not so much, for offering a complete set of data protection services to your customers. So huge opportunity, pay attention. And that's basically it, but there's one more thing. I wanted to remind you about the host of this event. This is a company called Host Europe, which we recently announced to be our first premier partner. It was founded in '97 as #4 hoster in the world, #2 hoster in Europe, and moving up. It's only about 1.7 million customers, more than 1,000 employees, 3 main data centers, including the data center in the US, right? And 60,000 physical servers, 100,000 virtual servers, and they have chosen Acronis to be their data protection partner. So one other business model for some of you guys, you can become partners of Host Europe. First movers reap most benefits. And at that point, I wanted to invite Soren to talk about why you have chosen Acronis.
Yeah. So as you said, World Hosting Days, we are owned by Host Europe. There's private equity behind it. We have a market cap of, I think, like 1.5 billion right now. And we have to exactly work on these 3 points: EBITDA, growth, and churn. And our main markets are in Western Europe, and Western Europeans are very concerned about data. So we think it's like the most important value-added service which we are launching this year. So we take it as an extremely big opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Soren.
Thank you.
Well, really, I just wanted to show one slide. So I think you need to start with Acronis products immediately. You can launch Acronis syndicated to hybrid cloud almost immediately, right now. If you're not doing it, it's just not smart. You can study and launch how to sell Acronis disaster recovery service also right now. It's available right now. Many of you have customers who can buy it. It's not that trivial to sell, but it's totally doable. You can sell Acronis Access Advanced SPLA to your managed hosting customers if you're managed services providers. Many of you by now became integrated hosters, so you have low-end customers and high-end customers, and high-end customers would appreciate management of such service. And you can look at Acronis Files Cloud. It's available in beta right now. We're launching it as a full-blown product. If you need help with this product, you need to contact those people. The presentation will be available on the website. And here is the mobile phones. Stanislav is our SVP engineering, and he's in charge of all products. We're in early stages of this. It's a multi-$10 million business, a cloud business for us, but it's still very early and it's growing 20 times. So engineering is deeply involved with every partner. You can also talk to John Zani. John Zani is here at the event. Some of you met him, and he's our SVP Cloud and Hosting, or our SVP Enterprise Global Sales, Jim Herman. And of course, you can also be crazy about Acronis. I'm crazy about Acronis myself. I made the Acronis tattoo. You can contact me. Here is my email, here is my Twitter, and here is my mobile phone. Again, all you need to remember is that you need to launch data protection services. And it's not just backup, it's also disaster recovery, archiving, e-discovery, and Files Cloud. And we have the best solution for you today. Thank you.